guys, this is the 1000th Son, and in this video it's it's full of prejudice, really, I'm not going to lie. So if that's not your cup of tea, I suggest you keep the video playing for my views, but put some cotton wool buds in your ears, because I'm about to prejudge the hell out of HBO's Velma. I don't have a HBO Max account, and in fairness, it's the job of the promotional material, marketing and trailers to draw me in, like many others. What I've seen so far, I'm thinking that this is an absolute dumpster fire. Now, I haven't seen it, hence the comment about prejudice to begin with. But what I want to do is quickly go through my initial thoughts from the marketing of this program, and then I'm going to jump to the part where I've watched the trailer, right, and give you some of my feedback, some of my thoughts from those two initial things, and then maybe it's won me over and I go straight out there and get a HBO Max subscription. We'll see. So one of the first things that Facebook decided to throw in my direction was a set of 4 promotional images for the new characters. Now, it was no surprise when I first saw these that the characters have almost all been race swapped, which I don't know, I guess if there's a really good reason, then that's fine, but I'm hazarding a guess there isn't a reason other than the fact, it needs to reflect a modern audience. But, why they keep doing this with IPs is what anyone's guess, although I think we've probably got a good idea. But anyway, waffling. So these 4 promotional images came out, and something struck me as a little odd. And again, maybe it's the fact that we keep seeing these same sort of themes come up time and time again, that myself and maybe others are susceptible to seeing patterns. As a species, we've evolved to notice patterns, right? So we can replicate success. So these images came out, and you've got Velma, right? She's looking very brave, very determined, right? You've got Daphne, who's looking very confident, sure of herself. You've got, for all intents and purposes, Shaggy, who's looking really cool, nonchalant. And you've got Fred. Fred looks pretty dumbstruck, looks pretty scared, right? And then if we look at them all side by side, I think it becomes apparent. I wonder why the character that looks dumbstruck, I wonder if there's a defining characteristic there that perhaps the TV industry feel that it's free reign, that they can vilify, demonise, degrade as often as they want, and there's never any blowback, or never any blowback that anyone takes seriously, unfortunately. So my first thoughts from seeing this marketing material keep popping up on Facebook was the people of colour are determined, cool, brave, stoic, whatever these images are conveying, and the white man is dumbstruck or scared or frightened. I wondered at this point, seeing these things on Facebook, whether this was a sign of things to come, right? Then, I don't know, a few weeks later, I see Mindy Kaling has mentioned that, referring to the characters of this new show, Velma, that she doesn't believe that they are defined by their whiteness, which kind of implies that she believed the old Scooby-Doo cartoon was defined by their whiteness, which personally I just think is just, it's ignorant. It's so ignorant, and it just goes to show how racially obsessed these people are, unfortunately. There was never a point growing up where the definition of Scooby-Doo was whiteness. If someone came up to you and go, "Oh, did you watch that cartoon the other night?" "Oh, which one?" "The one with all the white kids in a van." What? No, it was the kids that solved mysteries with the talking dog. "Oh, you mean Scooby-Doo?" Right? It's never defined by their whiteness. But I think it all comes back round to the point that these people that are, attempting to be the moral arbiters of our time, they cannot see past race. That is the only thing on the horizon. And I think it comes down to the fact that they can't relate to people outside their group, outside of their, immutable characteristics. They just can't relate to them. So that's I mean, it's a shame. It's unfortunate, because this is where the world is going now. You see it all the time. People are just constantly obsessing over race. Whether it's skin-coloured emojis, all sorts of different things that come out where you're thinking, why is this your defining characteristic now? Is there nothing more important about you? Your interests? Your hobbies? Your career? You know, why is it skin colour is now the most important thing to everyone? Yeah, to me, when I hear these sorts of things, my go-to is like, could you imagine people giving a shit about eye colour to the extent they care about skin colour? Oh, I couldn't relate to that character. They've got brown eyes. Because that's how it comes across to me. That growing up watching Scooby-Doo, she couldn't relate. She couldn't relate to the gang because none of them were Indian American. I just think that's really poor, and that says more about Mindy than it says about anyone else. Because personally, when I watched Scooby-Doo, and I quite enjoyed it as a kid, Velma was one of my favourite characters. In fact, when I was watching it, if there was a character I related to the most, it was Velma. Because as a kid, I was quiet, I was timid, I was fairly book smart, right? And out of the gang, she was the one that I kind of rooted for. But she's not like me. Not in the way that Mindy cares about. But it didn't matter. Because I'm a cognizant human being who can see outside and relate outside of my own ridiculous social group or boxes that everyone needs to be pushed into. Yes, I'm a white male. That doesn't make a difference. Because I can relate on a human level. And those people that apparently could never relate to characters outside of their own skin colour, sexual preference or gender, I think, well, you're a psychopath. Anyway, so that article did kind of wind me up a little bit, and the promotional images painted an idea in my mind of what this show was about to be. But the other thing that struck me as a little odd for a programme, you know, bouncing off the back of this established IP, well, actually, rather than just explain my observation here, I just wanted to quickly read an extract from Best Coast. So just bear with me. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We have got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. So yeah, it probably comes as no surprise to anyone hearing that. Like, where's the talking dog? You know, the actual main star of this show. Isn't it a little weird that he's not in it at all? Because the show is named after him. Admittedly, I appreciate this new show is named after Velma, so she's the central character. But yeah, I just thought it was a little odd. You're going to piggyback off an established IP to sell your crap, right? But you're not going to feature the main thing that people were kind of drawn in for. So, I don't know. Anyway, I'm about to watch the trailer for the first time. So give me a sec. Well, the trailer was a bit of a nothing burger, wasn't it? I gave it a watch. I know, a couple of minutes long. There's not really much in it, is there? There's a few attempts at a joke, but certainly not enough to allow me to even slightly review this program. So I went and had a look at clips of the first episode and maybe a sprinkling of the others, right? Just to get a better idea. Won't say how I did it. There's a couple of things that came out of watching this, a couple of thoughts. Firstly, there's a lot of box ticking, right? A lot of box ticking with all the race swaps, the two mums, the gay kissing. It felt like, actually, it's probably not what they were going for. It felt like let's just use the term right-wingers, because in the duality of our times where there's a left and a right, let's just use the term right-wingers. Right, it's almost like a bunch of right-wingers got together and wrote a program so deliberately woke, right, it was only there as a piss take. That's what Velma kind of felt a little bit there, which I know that's obviously not the aim, but it was just an amusing observation. Also, an amusing observation, considering certain racial stereotypes, is the character of Shaggy, who, let's be frank, was always a stoner, always on drugs. You race swap him the way that Velma has. It's something that I can imagine if other writers did, they might not have got away with. And, well, while we're on the subject of racism, there was something that kept cropping up, but this particular variety of racism is just given a free pass in the entertainment industry because it's directed towards white people. Now, let me just contextualise that a little bit. I don't I don't really take umbrage in what has been said against white people in Velma, although it is fairly frequent. Things like, oh, they're just white people, this is he's a rich white person. It comes up enough for it to be noticeable, so it's not just sort of a one-off joke that they deploy. It is a recurring theme, and the problem with this is not so much what is said, because I do believe that humour shouldn't be sterilised, although I think that's not the opinion of the people that make shows like this. So I do think jokes and comedy should be free to poke fun at varying different concepts, ideas, groups of people, because you don't really know if it's funny until you've said it and then see how the room reacts. But what annoys me is we live in a world where you could not deploy these same jokes, you could not say similar things about other groups of people. Right? It just cannot be done. So it's the hypocrisy that annoys me, that you can say whatever you like in TV and film against one group of people, but you don't dare go near that same sort of joke structure with other groups in mind. Now, the problem with this, I suppose, other than what I've just outlined, is the original Scooby-Doo was light-hearted. As a kid you watched it, it was quite fun. It didn't take itself particularly seriously. And then in contrast to what Velma is mean-spirited. As I said, these jokes against, white people come up enough to make me think that there's some sort of axe to grind here, right? That personal prejudices are coming into play here. And because Velma has been so stylized around Mindy herself, one can't help but think that this is potentially what Mindy believes herself, because she's clearly, self-inserted her as a human being into the character of Velma here. So it's almost as if you're getting a little window into what Mindy believes, and if that's the case, then I wouldn't give her the time of day anyway, because it seems to rely on quite an overused term, fairly toxic. And then the other thing to really come out of watching this is the level of humour, right? I don't know whether the show believes it's funny, but I was watching all of this and my face was just deadpan, like through the whole way. I didn't even blow air out my nose. It was just like there was nothing about this that was amusing. The jokes that they were trying to make, I recognise that it's meant to be a joke, but the humour is just, it's so base level. I don't know who this is for at all. And then you've got bits of gore and whatnot, so it's not a kids program. So there's two tangents I want to go off on here. Firstly, the humour, and who I can only assume makes up their intended audience, reminds me of something that happened years ago. I think I was early 20s. Back then, before kids, you actually had a group of friends, and occasionally we'd go out, and there was one house that we would normally go around, and we'd sit there and watch TV till the early hours of the mornings, drinking and whatnot, and And at the time, we were watching Futurama, and obviously anyone who's watched that knows just how sophisticated the humour is in that show. It's perfect. And one particular scene, Zoidberg comes up. I really wish I could remember what he said, but it was spit your drink out funny. So all of us there are chuckling away. We even have to pause a little bit because it just made us laugh. And as the laughter died off, there was one member of our group, right? She just sort of finishes off her laughter by saying, "Lobsters can't talk," and the rest of us just looked at each other and went, "What the f?" Like the humour went straight over your head. You were laughing just as hard as we were, but you were laughing at a funny lobster man. And I think this is who Velma is for. This is the humour. This is who it's directed for. Just utter crater brains. And then the other tangent was the gore. It's a different tangent to take the Scooby-Doo franchise down, like actually having real world bodily harm applied. But what struck me as a little odd is it's applied randomly, right? There's obviously a scene where a girl has had her brain removed, presumably in preparation to be an audience member for this program. You see the empty cranium. There's another scene where Fred launches what I only really saw as like a dinner tray, and it cuts someone's foot off. And there are other bits and pieces like that where your amputation seems fairly easy, or if not easy, on par with what might happen in the real world, maybe. Right? But then there are other scenes where the gang, Velma and the gang, they crash through walls. They have bricks fall on them, right? Things like that. And they come out without a scratch on them. I don't really care. I don't really care about this program at all. But it's just a bit weird. Like, how does violence get applied to your cartoon? Right? Yeah, in Tom and Jerry, like, no matter what happened to these animals, these characters, they were absolutely fine. But in Velma, some things can cut your foot off, and those same things would have absolutely no effect on the next character. So it was just a bit weird, bit of an observation there. And then, of course, touching on what I was saying earlier on in this video about those 4 promotional images that did the rounds and how Fred was the only one that appeared scared or stupid or dumbfounded, I think the word I used. He is clearly the whipping boy in this program. He's the one that is belittled, humiliated, and it's just, again, this isn't a one-off. This isn't a one-off. And apologies if I sound jaded and this, but you just see it all the time. You just see it all the time. And I've mentioned before that going into a program, all you need to do, pick the next program that comes out, the next thing that's being hyped, look at the cast, right? The male character is either going to be a moron, he's going to be the villain, he's going to be submissive. You just know it. You know it from the offset. And the female characters are going to be strong, they're going to be independent. They're going to absolutely know every single facet about what they need to do at any given time. They will not be able to learn from any other character, especially if that other character is male. That male cannot offer any advice to a female. And it's so obvious and it's so overplayed, like this trope now in TV, that it's boring. Because you know, heading into the program, right, all the character arcs, just by what they look like. So anyway, my final thoughts on Velma. Well, it's a big old meh, isn't it? I wouldn't waste your time on it. It's going to be resigned to the dumpster of history, that's for sure, and I highly doubt it's going to get a season 2. If there was one thing I really took away from it, well,
I'm bored.
But yeah, unfortunately for HBO Max, Velma has not convinced me to go and get that subscription that's been eluding me all these years. If you've taken any semblance of joy from the waffling I've subjected you to, please do drop me a like, share and subscribe. I challenge you to drop a comment below. Did you have the same reservations I did going into this? What do you think they're going to ruin next? Or just generally let me know your thoughts. But until next time, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.